opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of its host, guests, and callers that are not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the STARS program, Seniors Taking Active Roles in Society, with your host, Anita Finley. Your comments and questions are welcome during today's broadcast. Call us toll-free at 888-721-0074. That's 888-721-0074. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
Good morning, everybody. Let's see. Am I on? Oh, okay, I am on. Well, this is, let's see what it is. I got to make sure. It's August the 9th already. Oh, it's hurricane season, but we're not getting any hurricanes. That's good. But we do have someone who's a hurricane in a sense. Linda Sauget, she is an author of a book. But more than that, you know, the book is If You Think It. But every month she provides Boomer Times with the most beautiful column about very inspirational ideas. And so we welcome you, Linda, this morning. How are you?
Thank you. Good morning, Anita. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. And so you thought when you had to get up at 5 in the morning that you probably figured out something very positive about it, right? That's what you always do.
I do. I am always looking for the bright side of things.
Right. And what was your positive idea about getting up this early to share your ideas with us?
My positive thought was that I'll get to start my day bright and early.
And that's true. But you know, Linda, it is pretty exciting for all of us to read every month something that you come up with. And I'm looking at I don't know if you received it yet, our August issue. And, you know, there isn't a time where when you send it, I just can't, I almost fall off my chair. This last one was tending your garden. So do you get these ideas in the middle of the night, or what really inspires you?
Well, they just come from anywhere. A lot of times the ideas just come from something that I'm dealing with in my own life, a lesson that I need to remember or that my family is dealing with, or a friend. You know, something will spark an idea. Just life always sparks an idea. Or I'll see a story, or I'll see a quote that inspires me. And so, you know, the idea just comes to me, and I'll just start writing, and it unfolds. It just unfolds, and then I'll read it and revise it and read it and revise it, and then I send it off to you.
Then you send it off. And I know that you've had a lot of people who've have asked you, you know, they've asked you to make speeches, and they compliment you. And so I have said, because your first book is what attracted us as I first met you, If You Think It. And so now I hope that you're considering a second book with all these wonderful, this might be a little different than you're used to doing. You know, before you just found wonderful quotations. But I think this book coming up could be filled with all the articles you wrote.
You know, that's exactly what I want to do, Anita. I envision that. And you know what I like about it is that the articles are short enough that, you know, you can read them when you have 5 extra minutes. And so if it was a book, you know, every page or every idea is just short enough and compact enough so you get the message. And so I love doing the columns. I appreciate the opportunity so much. And, yeah, I'd love to compile them into a book.
So let's really see if we can help some of our listeners. We have a lot of listeners who get up early in the morning because they go to bed early and they don't want to probably turn on television and see more of the ghastly things that are happening all over the world. And so they look forward to being inspired by our show, and that's why we asked you to be on here, because you are one of our inspirers. So let's see what we can do to inspire someone. Maybe, I was thinking, there might be other people, no one could ever be like Linda Sauget, but maybe other people who have these things in their mind. And what would you suggest to them, maybe, to start writing some of their own inspirational messages?
Oh, absolutely. I would say that one of the best ways to uplift yourself is to write things that inspire you, or start a collection of quotations that inspire you. You know, because when I was putting together the book of quotations, you know, I was reading thousands of quotations, and it's so motivating and uplifting to focus your mind on something positive. So if there was someone out there who wanted to uplift themselves, I would say one of the best things they could do is find quotations that motivate them, or if they have their own ideas, their own stories, their own things that they've worked through and that have, you know, come out in a positive way, to just document that, you know, document it for your family, and then who knows where that could lead, you know, in speaking to people and in maybe putting together a book and publishing a book. So, you know, one of the things that is good about that is it gives somebody something to work toward, that they want to compile it, even if it's not to be published, but just for their family, a family history, or just revealing something about you to your family that could be in writing. So,
yeah, good idea. I think that's maybe a way, because it's so interesting that a lot of the older adults are all wanting to be a writer. They're answering a lot of we have an ad in Boomer Times that says, if you're an author, you have written a book, please contact us. And a lot of people, even though some people have books, but then again, there are other people who say, well, I want to write a book, and do you know how to do that, and can you help me? So many of them really have, of course, a long life filled with events, and some are positive, some are negative, but they have events in their life. And I think people like to read other people's life stories or things, because it seems like there's always a piece in somebody's life that's similar to ours.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. I mean, it's the human experience. We all go through it, and as different as we all are, and as different as all of our stories and upbringings, I mean, there are universal experiences that we all have. And so it's interesting to read the details of someone else's story or life, but ultimately there are universal messages that we all experience. So we resonate with that, and we identify with that.
Well, I love this tending your garden. I had to go back to that because dandelions. Now, I almost bought a dandelion. After I read this, I was at my little local, I have a little, like a farm store that has all sorts of herbs and all, and they had dandelion plants. And, of course, I don't have a house anymore. I live in a condo, and I said, gee, I wonder, I love the way they look. I ought to buy a dandelion bush after I read your article. And I thought, nah, maybe I don't want to do that, because you wanted to get rid of the dandelions. Why did you want to get rid of the dandelions?
Well, it's the story of a man who just tended his lawn. He took great pride in not having a single weed and having a lush green lawn, but he couldn't get rid of the dandelions. He just kept weeding and weed killer and trying everything under the sun, but he got rid of every single weed except for the dandelions. And then he finally, in desperation, writes to the Department of Agriculture, tells all of the things that he has gone through to get rid of the dandelion weeds, and says, what should I do? What is your suggestion? Finally, the Department of Agriculture writes him back and says, dear sir, we suggest you learn to love dandelions. So, it is the message, and the theme of the article is it's about acceptance. And that is such a powerful message, because one of the keys to happiness is acceptance. There are just certain things that we have to accept. We can fight them, we could not like them, but that isn't going to bring us happiness. But acceptance does. And one of the things I say, and this is so important, is that acceptance is not resignation, and it is not giving up. But acceptance is just acknowledging the way things are, acknowledging what is, and then choosing to be okay with it. Because you could choose not to be okay. That's a choice too, but that's not going to lead to happiness, peace, contentment. So that's the message in the story about tending your garden and the dandelions, is accept the dandelions and just acknowledge what is and choose to accept it, choose to like it, choose to love it.
Yeah, it's such a good message, Linda, and we could take that, everyone who's listening, all of us, can take that to heart and say, yep, if we can't do something about it, learn to accept it. Now, sometimes you can do something about it, and you do it, but on the other hand, there are many things we can't do anything about, and we do have to figure out how to either accept it or and if we can't change it, that's the way it is. And we know so many people, don't we, Linda, who they really don't follow that advice. And they're miserable. You know, they walk around with this black cloud, and you say to yourself, well, you know, if they don't like it, then they ought to change it, and they can't change it, they better just live with it, right?
Yeah, it's so true, Anita, because, you know, in this story, he tries everything under the sun to get rid of the dandelions. You know, so when you have a situation, you try to change it. But when something cannot be changed, when it just is the way it is, really, you have to just let it be. Accept it. Choose to have it be okay.
Okay, so my question is, why did you pick on the dandelions?
No particular reason. I actually love dandelions. When I was little, I used to pick them and bring them to my mom as a bouquet of flowers.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking about when I was going to buy that plant. Of course, I'd have it inside, and I don't know if dandelion plants would grow inside, but I kind of like the pretty little yellow flowers. Now, so do you think that would grow inside? This is a dandelion story.
Oh, I'm not sure, but I think so.
But so now every time we see a dandelion, we're going to think of your book. I mean, not your book, but your article in the issue. Well, let's just keep going with this, because it isn't just this particular article that you wrote, but you have a couple of favorites. I know I always ask you that. And what would be the one that was so inspirational for you, and that just, you know, after you got, how did you know when to stop? Yeah, that's my other question. So you're thinking of something, and you sit down and you start typing. Then how do you know how much you're going to put into it, or when it's too much, because you always do it perfectly every month?
Well, I mean, I really edit it down because I only have so much space, and that is a great opportunity for me to just get to the heart of the matter and just keep editing it down, because I could write and give more examples and, you know, find more quotations and discuss whatever the topic is more fully, but because I have so much space in the magazine, then I just keep editing till I get to my point in that amount of space. But, you know, one of my favorite, I don't know if it's necessarily inspirational. I've had some people write me and say how important my column was and how it got them through a rough time, and that's so gratifying. But you know what? One of my favorite columns is the first one that I ever wrote, and it's where you came up with the title of the column, which is Think Yes. And it's the story of John Lennon meeting Yoko Ono. And this is a true story. She is an artist, a sculptor and an artist, and she had an art exhibition in New York. And one of her pieces was an interactive sculpture, and it was a metal sculpture, and part of it was a staircase through the center of it, like a ladder. And when you climb up this sculpture, the ladder of the sculpture, you reach the top, and there's a door. And when you open the door, in big block letters is the word yes.
Really?
And, yeah. And what John Lennon, he fell in love with Yoko Ono from seeing that, because it was so positive. What in the world is more positive than the word yes? It opens all possibility. It opens the door. If he opened that trap door at the top of the sculpture and it said no, that would be like a slap in the face. That would be like negative. And so it really was, I thought, such a great idea on her part, so creative, to put the word yes up there. And so that, I always say that, it is, one of my favorite quotes by Einstein, and this isn't said he's not saying this in a religious context, but he says it's better to believe than to disbelieve, because in believing, you bring everything into the realm of possibility. And that's how I feel about the word yes. Everything is in the realm of possibility if you say yes. If you say no, you've closed the door, you've shut everything off. If you just can stay open. So yes represents an opening for me. So that was one of my favorite columns. It was the first one I ever wrote, and then you said, I've got the name of this column. It's going to be Think Yes.
I don't even remember that I did that, but I guess it makes sense since, we got the think in there. If you think it, and think yes. But that's why, because now I remember that column. That was pretty exciting. And so you do turn things into yeses. And a lot of us, I'm pretty enthusiastic and I'm pretty much of a yes person, but I do know those kinds of people that say, well, wait a minute, and they start giving you all the reasons why this won't work or that won't work, instead of saying, okay, well, yes, but let's analyze it, in a different way.
Yeah, it's so much, it's our attitude. Are you open or are you closed? Are you positive or are you negative? And if you are negative, if you are closed, that's just an opportunity every time that comes up to just look at it and examine it and see, because I just believe that negativity and that no attitude, it affects you physically and mentally. The mind and body are connected. It's the mind-body connection. And so what your thoughts are, what your attitude is, it just affects how you see things. It affects the way you interpret things, because we all see the world through our own looking glass. We all, we could all be in the same restaurant, in the same room, with the same group of people, and some of us will have a terrible time, and some of us will have a great time. And we'll be having the same experience, but experiencing it differently. And how that happens is because we all create our own world. We all see and notice the things that fit our perceptions. If you're open to different people, old people, young people, sick people, well people, if you're open, you're not going to have any negative charge about being with that group of people. But if there's a certain group of people that annoy you, you're going to notice everything that they do that annoys you.
You're right. My guest is Linda Sauget. That's Sauget. She wrote a book, If You Think It, and you ought to go purchase it. You can get it online. You can go to Amazon.com. It's absolutely worth your getting, whether you are sitting here feeling a little depressed or you're sitting listening to the radio and you're very enthusiastic about life. You have a wonderful family and I just got a dog, Linda. We'll talk about that, but that's such a yes for me. And so a lot of people need to figure out what it is in their life that's going to make them think yes. And you can do it. It isn't something that's hard to do. You have to, but I would say, just something you just brought up, you got to stay away from negative people because it is really pervasive.
It is, and it affects you. You know, the people around you and their attitudes affect you. You know, you can meet someone, and you're one of those people, Anita. You're so full of life, and you're so warm and giving that when I'm with you, that emanates from you, and it affects me in a positive way. And the opposite is true, too. If you meet negative people, they're complaining and they're negative, it almost assaults you, you know, that attitude. It's hard to distance yourself from that. It's easy to get wrapped up in that. So, yes, stay around positive people.
I feel the same way about you, of course. But to tell you something, I was thinking about what you were saying. When I go to a restaurant, I'm just enthusiastic about the food, and I happen to have someone that would go to a restaurant occasionally, and first thing out of her mouth is, well, what do you think? You think that that's good? And I'm saying to myself, you think that waiter's going to say no, it's not good? And she questions, and you know, for me, it's like, okay, let's get on with this. You know,
yeah,
I don't know. You probably know people like that. It's not even going to eat in a restaurant, which is such a privilege in a way. A lot of people can't afford to go eat in a restaurant, and you're still going to have a good time. And first you have to spend the first 5 minutes thinking, well, I don't know why I want this, or tell me what that's like. And then, of course, there are people who, they bring the food, and the people say, I don't really like this. And it's a downer.
It is. It definitely is. But one thing that you just mentioned, Anita, that will uplift people if they have the ability is to have a pet.
Right,
that's
a pet.
Unconditional friendship and love.
Oh, where do you see my new little dog? Oh, my goodness. It is. I mean, you think I've been happy? I have not been as happy since I just got the dog again. Remember, I had a dog and it died, but this was a rescue. And for people to, you're going to have to write something for the September issue about a pet. Think yes, because there's so many dogs that need to be rescued and cats, and it's really a yes experience when you're with a little thing that is so. In fact, I brought it to the show this morning. It's sitting here. I didn't leave it at home. Bill said, I'll take. No, it's okay, Bill, because she's so now. You know, when you rescue a pet, they've been neglected, so all of a sudden they've turned on their radar to you, and they don't want you to leave. They want you to be with. So I got out of bed and I could see she's very little. She's 6 pounds. She's full grown, but she's a little Maltese. And so I could see she was kind of sitting there. And I said, okay, I'll take you, you know, and I had to get her little stuff on and I brought her a little cup for water. But I'll tell you, it's a happy thing for me. It's a big yes.
Yes, it definitely is. Pets are amazing. They are they're family members. There's no question about it.
Right. So, so people who are thinking now think yes to pets because they are in those shelters and somebody needs to go and have them, whether you like a cat or a dog, they are so special. And she's I brought a little bath mat, so she's lying in this bath mat all curled up. And she knows I'm here, though. Let me tell you, if I got up and walked out the door, she'd be right after me. But the comfort that she gives me and I give her, isn't that nice?
It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
So that's a yes for you.
That's a yes, definitely.
So let's see. So now today you're up. You're 5 o'clock. It's 5:30. Do you dare to go back to sleep?
I'm not sure. I'm so awake now. I might just have to get busy and do something.
Write your September column.
I got to work on that.
That's true, you are. Well, we thank you so much for doing this, Linda. I look forward to seeing you soon, and I have a lot of exciting, good news to tell you. I love to tell you news because you're so positive every time I do it. Sometimes I give her crazy ideas, and she says, yes, Anita, that sounds so great, even if it isn't great. Oh, my goodness, you're a dear friend. And, Linda, thank you for doing this. We all loved it. It started our day off perfectly.
Great. Thank you, Anita.
Okay. Bye, Linda.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we're going to be back next with, you're going to love this, Noelle Mead Izzy. She's the author of this wonderful book on hummingbirds. If you ever thought about a hummingbird, when you get finished, you'll know about this hummingbird. So we'll be back right after that.
Every day in the U.S., over 1,000 people are injured or killed in distracted driving crashes. Admit it, you've had some scary moments yourself. Did you know that texting for just 3